Once again, great morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the August Special Education Points of Contact webinar. Today, we will be reviewing and updating you on changes and things that you need to know for the start of the school year. You'll be hearing from our SSK 12, and also our student transportation team is also here to give you updates about things you should know for the start of the school year. So we're going to go ahead and get started with today's presentation. All right, and today we'll be covering student transportation, just updates and reminders, compliance monitoring updates. We'll review some SEDS administrative tasks for the new school year, our SEDS training check-in, special education policy and monitoring updates, and then we'll end with announcements and reminders. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started talking about student transportation.
Good morning, everyone. This is Douglas Johnson from DOT's transportation team. And as we know, it's start of school time, so we know that we need to have all of our students' information updated in all of the various systems. If we're transferring students from one LEA to another, we need to make sure everything is proper and ready to go. We can go to the next slide, please. This is over the new CRM system where we are utilizing this we're utilizing ESY 2019 and also moving forward for 2019-2020. Just, to send them integration with other systems, the reducing data entry and integrations with DOT customer engagement system, and our ability to provide better reports, and a portal for parents that will be coming soon so they can submit any type of complaints or any issues they may have encountered when it comes to transportation. Next slide, please. This will give you all a heads up that we will be having more refresher trainings and training sessions as well once start of school kind of slow down. So just look for notifications close to the end of September. So the start of school year is kind of busy for everybody. So we just want to make sure that our student routes are optimized and they're stable when it comes to transportation. So if anyone is on the phone as well, when transportation begins for your school, if it hasn't yet, please make sure you contact the Parent Resource Center at 202-576-5000. And that's the Parent Resource Center if you have any issues with your student route. And everyone knows TOTE is a transportation online tool that we streamline, we use for our students to submit transportation requests. And also make sure we have accurate data in the system, because once you route a student, we all make a phone call to the parent to verify that it's the correct information. And if it's not the correct information, we reach out to you all, and we encourage the parent to reach out to you all to submit a new transportation request with the new and updated information. So making sure the bail time for your school is correct and is not updated, because when we route students, if the bail time does change, that can impact how your students are routed, and it could, delay any type of transportation to that student for your school. So just make sure we have accurate information in all systems. We can just go to the next slide after that. Making sure that we have accurate, timely data, that helps you help us make sure your student is routed for the first day of school, okay? Because we utilize our 10-day process with routing students. So if you submit a transportation request on Friday of this week and your school starts on the 26th of next week, do know and understand that that student most likely won't have transportation, okay? So the earlier you do submit your transportation request information for your students, that's the better. That's why we have those dates in June and also in May for ESY. Okay, LEA reimbursement. So if anything that the LEA didn't do, is no fault of the LEA, is due to OSCE, or if a student is coming from another LEA and that the information didn't push in your system in a timely manner for you to submit a transportation request for that student, we do offer LEA reimbursement. So if you have any questions about the LEA reimbursement, you can reach out to our team at dot.data@dc.gov, or you can give us a phone call at 202-576-5520 And that's the OSSI DOT Data and Technology team. If you want to find out more information about the LEA reimbursement, and also on some of the slides, if you download, the link is there as well for the LEA reimbursement. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, the phone. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 202-576-5520 for the Data and Technology team at OSSI. And also, once again, for the parent resource unit, it's 202-576-5000. That's if you're having any issues with your students, pick up and drop off times. If you see they're being late to school, you can file a complaint there and notify us that way, okay? And that's pretty much all that we have today. And if they want to go through, that's the link for the LEA reimbursement. But if you want some more information on it, just please reach out to our team.
Great, thank you so much. Again, you guys see that you can also get that number on the screen. The parent reimbursement number is displayed so that if you need to reach out, that is the number for you. Next, we're going to be moving over to our monitoring and compliance so that you can get the necessary updates from that team. And we'll go ahead and get started in that section. Karen?
Yep, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, great. Good morning, everybody. My name is Karen Morgan Donaldson, and I'm the manager of the IDEA Monitoring and Compliance team. And I just have a few slides to go over to get you started for the beginning of the school year. So if we could go to the next slide, please. Okay, so first off, I just wanted to provide a quick FAQ related to DC CATS. DC CATS is the system that we use for monitoring and compliance tracking purposes. So it's really important that every SPED POC has access to this system. And just a couple of questions here and facts. How can I request access to DC CATS? You can access DC CATS by completing, or you can request access by completing the DC CATS request form. This is available on the home page of the DC CATS system. If you are unable to access that, please feel free to reach out to me directly. Can I request access for another staff member at my LEA? Yes, as long as the staff member has a school or LEA specific email to your LEA, then they can have access. So there's no limit to how many people have access to DC CATS. One reason why we delineate this is because sometimes LEAs have a contractor or a consultant that doesn't have an LEA specific email account. And for student level information and privacy, we need to ensure that every person does have an LEA specific email account. And then this is about the time when people maybe forgot their password. If you did forget your password and you already have an account, there is a reset password button on the home page for DC CATS. If you have any other questions related to DC CATS, there is a DC CATS resource page, and the link is located at the bottom of this slide. And in addition, you can always reach out to me. My email and contact information will be at the end of this webinar. Next slide. This slide gives you an overview of our monitoring activities and timelines for this school year. You can see in the left side, in the left column, we have the monitoring activities, and then we have them broken out into quarters, or fall, winter, spring, and summer. The big change here from last year is that we will be monitoring our timeliness indicators on a quarterly basis. So C2B transition timeliness, initial evaluation timeliness, and reevaluation timeliness will all be monitored on a quarterly basis. This does not mean that we are monitoring more. We are just chunking the way that we actually monitored. So before we monitored perhaps once a year, maybe twice a year. Now we're just doing it more often. We're not reviewing any more files or monitoring you in any different way. It's just a different timeline. Next slide. And this last slide that I have is just an overview of an overview of an initiative that we have on the monitoring and compliance team. DC, as a city, is under specific conditions for secondary transition requirements, as well as reevaluation timeliness. So what we are trying to do as a monitoring and compliance team is bring attention to this initiative. The district's most recently reported REV compliance rate to the Department of Education was 87.1% for the time period of October 1st, 2018 to March 30th, 2019. So that's the most recent data that we reported to OSEP. And we've kind of been lingering in that 87% range for some time now. So what we're trying to do is support LEAs in raising those rates and upping our compliance rate. The target for reevaluation timeliness is 100%, and that is for all states. LEAs were provided their REV timeliness rate for federal fiscal year 17 in their determinations that were issued on Monday. This says issued last week, but the determinations for each LEA were actually issued on Monday. So if you are interested, we encourage you to go and look at your REV timeliness rate. It is included in your federal fiscal year 17 determinations that came out on Monday. This year, another change and initiative that we have is we will be providing each LEA quarterly updates on their REV timeliness rates. So in addition to issuing findings in these areas, we will also give you an overview of what your compliance rate is for that quarter. So this is just going to give you more information, give you more timely feedback related to your compliance. And then in addition, LEAs can always track their upcoming REVs, reevaluations that are coming up in OSSE's Performance and Planning Report, which we refer to as the P&P report, and that is found in SLED under the Enterprise Reporting System. If you have any questions about accessing that, please feel free to reach out to me, and I can direct you to that report. And that's about it for monitoring and compliance updates. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen. Next, moving on to SEDS, we're just going to review some SEDS administrative tasks for the new school year. And I guess I'll be the person going through that information for you. So just to make sure that your system is operating in the 1920 school year, you are responsible for reviewing that information. Your annual school year calendar in SEDS is coming directly from eSchool Plus. So just to make sure that everybody is aware that you don't have to actually enter the system calendar for the year, but you do need to review the calendar, look at your dates that are in the calendar, and then you are also responsible for updating the reporting periods. So let's start with step one. You're just basically reviewing your system calendar. You'll go down to the last line under your calendars just to make sure that your dates, although you're seeing 18-19, you want to make sure your dates for 19-20 are present in this screen, and then you can update the database. That's just going to make sure that all of your start and end dates for your school year are present in SEDS. Again, that information comes directly from the calendars in eSchool Plus. Step three is you want to make sure that the reporting periods have been updated for the school year. So the dates that you expect progress reports to happen, you'll enter the begin and end date. The end date and the due date, more importantly, the due date, are tied to when folks have access to it. So people are not going to be able to access reporting period 1 beyond the date that you enter for the due date of that particular progress report. Another important task that the SPED POC is responsible for at the start of the school year is ensuring that users have the appropriate access in SEDS. So you will be responsible for reviewing your your list of users in SEDS. You want to look at users who no longer work for the LEA, users who no longer need access to student files, or non-public users who no longer need access to the student's record. So to do this, you'll go to the Users tab in SEDS, and you will select all the LEA and school level roles. Again, I have to stress this in almost every training or presentation that we do. Please do not modify, delete, or touch any account that says State Data Administrator. Those are the accounts that we use to help you when you reach out for assistance from OSCE. So don't do anything to those accounts. Never change those profiles. But you will select all the other staff roles, and you want to look for folks that are no longer with your LEA. You'll, in the checkbox under the delete column, this will inactivate that selected user if they're no longer with your LEA. Now, although we inactivate those users, they're not permanently deleted. We can go back at any time and reactivate them if needed. So there is an inactive user list as well that you can see who's been inactivated if you need to reactivate a user. SEDS access for non-public staff, also very important here. The non-public SPED POC, each non-public campus should have a designated POC who's going to be responsible for coordinating access for non-public staff and also training those non-public staff members on how to use SEDS. The LEA Special Ed POC is responsible for overseeing that SEDS access for those users, including non-publics, who are serving students from your LEA. So you will reach out to OSCE or your non-public SPED POC. They can also reach out using the OSCE support tool to create a ticket to create a user account for a non-public that needs access to your LEA. Okay, so you don't create those for the non-public users or aggregate users. That goes through OSCE support tool. Another important thing that people are focused on in the beginning of the school year is removing students from your SEDS roster. I know that many of you have seen this information before. We are restating this again because this is the time of year that folks want to know how to exit a student from the student information system and also to remove them from SEDS. So a couple of things that you'll want to keep in mind is that there are specific steps that you need to take for a student that has graduated from the LEA, specific steps for a student that has aged out, and you can access this presentation for more detailed information on the age out and graduated student process. The summary of performance, that is a document that is required for graduates. So when that student graduates, prior to 60 days prior to the graduation, they should have a summary of performance in their SEDS record. For your age out students, there is an actual age out form that needs to be completed. And this age out form will serve as a prior written notice for any student that has reached age 22 by the end of their enrolled semester. That student can be aged out, which means they get removed from SEDS. This is your age out form, which needs to be completed and signed and then uploaded in SEDS. So once you request the age out removal, we will be checking for that information in the student SEDS record. Okay, just a quick check for understanding. We want to make sure that everybody is familiar with the number of modalities required to exit a student in SEDS. And then if a student has aged out, what documentation is required to exit that student from SEDS? I'm going to pause for just a moment. right, so the modalities that you need to use to reach out to parents need to be documented in SEDS. And also for the age out, you need to make sure that you have completed the age out form, and that is in the student's record in SEDS. Okay, just the last few things here. Transfer of special ed records. OSSE will initiate records transfers. So you need to make sure that your student has if they are attending a new LEA, they need to have a stage 5 enrollment. Upon that student's first day of attendance, OSSE will actually transfer those records. If the student has a stage 4 enrollment in your SIS, and that also matches the LEA in SEDS, OSSE will initiate a records transfer. If you have any questions about records that are not transferred or other SEDS support questions, please use the OSSE support tool to enter that information.
Hi, this is Christy Weaver-Harris with the Division of K-12 Systems and Supports. I'm going to go over some information about FMLA for IEP meetings and specialized instruction tracking. But first, I'm going to do a quick poll. I'm just going to pop up on your screen in 1 second. I want to know if your LEA serves students ages 3 through 5. Just waiting on a few more folks to respond. Okay. All right, and if yes, have you completed the specialized instruction tracking webinar? So if your LEA does serve students ages 3 through 5, please let me know if you have completed the required webinar. Okay. Thank you for your responses. I'm going to go through really quickly some of those specialized instruction tracking requirements, but first, this is just to let you know that last week the U.S. Department of Labor issued an opinion stating that parents and guardians can use the Family and Medical Leave Act, their FMLA time, on an intermittent basis in order to attend IEP meetings for their students with disabilities. So this is something that you may want to communicate with parents. You may want to make it available to them. OSSE is looking at the possibility of issuing a parent letter to clarify, to provide more information about this for parents, but we just wanted to bring it to your attention in case it's something you wanted to share with your parents. All right, now I'm going to do a very quick overview of the specialized instruction tracking for children under the age of 6 requirements. If you have participated in the required webinar, thank you, good job. If you have not, I can send you the link after this if you just send me a message in the questions. Your LEA is, all LEAs that serve students under the age of 6 are required to attend this, to complete the webinar. So if you have not heard yet from someone at OSSE, you will soon if your LEA has failed to complete this. But I will send you the link if you just send me a request in the questions section. To give you a quick overview, under IDEA, LEAs are responsible for ensuring a smooth and effective transition for students who are currently receiving IDEA Part C early intervention services through OSSI's Division of Early Learning, also known as OSSI Strong Start. So when those students transition from Part C to your LEA and receive IDEA Part B special education and related services, your LEA is responsible for participating in transition planning conferences, for developing the students, IEP by their 3rd birthday, which also includes completing the eligibility determination by the child's 3rd birthday or prior to the child's 3rd birthday, and completing the IEP development. And you're responsible for implementing the IEP by the child's 3rd birthday. So how do you know if you're responsible for participating in a transition planning conference for one of these students? You will receive a transition conference invitation from DC Strong Start, or DCPS Early Stages will reach out to you if they learn that the student is enrolling in your LEA. When you receive that transition conference invitation, that constitutes referral for the purposes of initial evaluation. So your reasonable efforts to obtain parental consent should begin within 10 business days of receiving that referral, and must be completed or made within 30 days of receiving that referral. And included in your reasonable efforts, this includes attending the transition planning conference and attempting to obtain parental consent at the transition planning conference. The requirement to develop the student's IEP by their 3rd birthday includes, like I said, adhering to the initial evaluation process, completing the eligibility determination, and developing an IEP if the child is found eligible. OSSI strongly encourages LEAs to use the data provided by the Strong Start program and the child's parent to inform the initial evaluation process and IEP development. And your requirement to implement the child's IEP by their 3rd birthday includes the provision of all specialized instruction and related services in the child's IEP by their 3rd birthday. Specialized instruction must be provided prior to or on the child's 3rd birthday. If the child turns 3 on a non-school day, specialized instruction must be provided on the first school day following the child's 3rd birthday that the student is stage 5 enrolled. So that child needs to be attending your LEA actually in person, and you must provide specialized instruction on the first day that the child attends. All related services must be provided at least once within 14 days of the child's 3rd birthday. So those are our metrics for court reporting. But when I say that you must implement the IEP by the child's 3rd birthday, you need to be providing those that specialized instruction and related services prior to or on the child's 3rd birthday. We give a 14-day grace period for the purposes of data reporting. And if the child turns 3 during the summer and the child does not qualify for related services as part of their ESY services, all related services must be provided at least once within 14 days of the first day of school after the summer. The background on why we are requiring LEAs to document the first provision of specialized instruction for students under the age of 6 is this stems from the DLVDC class action lawsuit that was initially filed in 2005 and was finally decided in 2015. And in this case, the district court or the federal court found that the District of Columbia had failed to identify children with disabilities ages 3 through 5, had failed to issue eligibility determinations and conduct timely initial evaluations, and that the district had failed to smoothly and effectively transition students from Part C to Part B. The court has ordered the entire district, so all LEAs and OSSI, to comply with very specific performance metrics for children ages 3 through 5. And this includes establishing or reaching a district-wide child find rate of 8.5% for children ages 3 through 5, ensuring 95% timely eligibility determinations, and ensuring 95% smooth and effective transition from C to B. So part of this requirement to document the initial provision of specialized instruction for these students is related to the child find rate. A student cannot be included in our child find numbers until they have received specialized instruction in a timely manner. If you need more information about the DLVDC lawsuit, there's more information available on our website and a Dear Colleague letter that OSSI issued in August of 2017, and you can always find that on our website. So as I said, the court has ordered very specific requirements for the district to comply with. The district is required to record and track when children first receive each service, including special education or specialized instruction. And then for the C to B transition metric, The district may only report that there was no disruption in services if all of the child's special education services began on the child's 3rd birthday or in the timeframes that I previously discussed. So this is where the requirement is stemming from, that the district has been ordered by the court to record and track the first provision of specialized instruction for these students. So for this year, we are requiring all LEAs that serve students under the age of 6 to document the first provision of specialized instruction for all students under the age of 6. This includes students who are transitioning from Part C around the age of 3, children who are transitioning from an extended IFSP around the age of 4, and then students ages 3 through 5 who are newly determined eligible for special education. And this includes students who are transferring from out of state. So if you are receiving a student from that has a current out-of-state eligibility, so you receive a child who's transferring from Maryland, for example, you must conduct an initial evaluation for that student, applying the District of Columbia eligibility requirements to determine if that child is a child with a disability in the District of Columbia. If the child is eligible for services, you must develop the IEP within 30 days. And when you provide that first provision of specialized instruction, please document it in accordance with our process. And as a reminder, LEAs are only required to document the first provision of specialized instruction. LEAs are not required to document any further provision of specialized instruction or on an ongoing basis or for students outside of this specific age range. I received a lot of questions about whether OSSI envisions this becoming a requirement for all students, and at this current time, we do not. This is a task that is very specific to our requirements under the DLVDC court order. So your first step in ensuring that you are meeting your requirements to track specialized instruction provision for those students is to ensure that appropriate folks have access in SEDS. So the LEA staff that manages SEDS access and roles, who is usually your LEA data administrator or you, the LEA Special Education POC, you're responsible for ensuring appropriate SEDS access for case managers or whatever LEA's designated staff is responsible for completing this documentation in SEDS. And to do that, you have to go in and provide or check the can provide box for specialized instruction for the providers that need to be able to document this service. An overview of the process fairly quickly. The step 1 is that the service provider will complete and sign a hard copy provision of specialized instruction form. That form is available in SEDS and on the OSSI website. Step 2 is that the case manager or the other designated person, the other person that's designated at your LEA that's responsible for documenting this in SEDS, will create a service log in the specialized instruction logging wizard. Step 3 is to generate a specialized instruction service tracker. And then step 4 is to attach to the service tracker the uploaded provision of specialized instruction form. And you can do that either by uploading the form or by faxing it in with the appropriate cover sheet. This is a quick overview of what the tracking form looks like. Again, this is available on our website or in SEDS. OSSI may be making some changes to this form to ensure that we are capturing all the information that you may need to document this service. Please use the form that's available as it is right now. If we make any changes, it's only to assist you in collecting information from the providers that you must put into SEDS when you enter this information in. So then the case manager will go into SEDS and go to the wizard section, and you will have a specialized instruction logging wizard that you may select if you have been given that can provide access. When you go into the logging wizard, all students who have specialized instruction on your caseload will appear. We did try to limit this to students under the age of 6, and unfortunately, the developer for SEDS has been unable to do that in a way that we would be able to roll it out to you as quickly as possible. So for the current time, you will see all of your students that have specialized instruction on their IEPs. I apologize that we weren't able to limit that for you, but you should know which students you have that are under the age of 6. Again, you only need to document this for students under the age of 6, although all students will appear in the logging wizard. OSSI is going to work on that for updates in the next year, but my apologies that we couldn't narrow that field for you. When you go in to enter the service log entry, this should look very similar to what you're used to for related services. You're going to enter the date of service and the service type. The service type should be direct services. And then service delivery. Service delivery will generally be whether the service was delivered, the service was attempted, and then if the student was unavailable, you'll select that there. Duration of service, you only need to document the first provision of specialized instruction. You don't need to document, for example, for the whole provision of a section of specialized instruction. For example, if a child has 2 hours of specialized instruction on their IEP for the whole week or for a single day, you only need to document the first provision of that. You don't need to document the whole 2 hours. So if the child receives 30 minutes of specialized instruction on Monday, document that 30-minute provision. You aren't required to document the full 2 hours using this process. Then you'll go and generate the service tracker, select the student, select the date range, and then the area that you will want to select is specialized instruction, and you will generate a service tracker that looks like this. And then you will go in and in the Students Documents tab, you will upload the completed and signed hard copy form that I referenced earlier and attach it to the Specialized Instruction Service Tracker. You can either use the faxed in cover sheet that you see, you can either fax it in by using the cover sheet that you see on the left, or you can just directly upload it and attach it to the service tracker. So that was a very quick overview of the process. Again, if your LEA is required to, please view and complete the webinar. That is a 25-minute webinar. It doesn't take very long, but please make sure that you do it. To support LEAs in meeting these requirements, OSSI has added a UDE flag to the Unified Data Errors Click application that will notify you if the full process has not been completed for a student. So you'll see a UDE flag if any of the following are true: that you have not created a specialized instruction service log, that you have not created a specialized instruction service tracker, or that you have not uploaded the form. If any part of that is not completed, it will show up in the UDE Click application. OSSI is also going to conduct monthly monitoring of LEA compliance with the specialized instruction service tracking requirement. This will be a soft touch, so OSSI will be looking at your compliance with this requirement, and if we see that you have been failing to complete student records, OSSI will directly connect with your LEA special education point of contact and head of school to ensure that you are correcting the student file and SEDS. And we will also provide targeted supports to address LEA barriers to compliance. So if someone reaches out to you from OSSI about this and you're experiencing like LEA-wide or school-wide issues with completing these requirements, please engage with OSSI, because we want to provide you the supports that you need and the resources that you need to do this correctly and to do this with fidelity. And as always, if you have any questions about that requirement, you can always reach out to me directly at christy.weaverharris@dc.gov. So again, why is it paused? Hold on 1 second. So, as always, you can find more information on Child Find and CDB transition on our Child Find and Initial Evaluation Resources page. That is also where the Dear Colleague letter regarding DLVDC is found, where the Model Child Find policy is, where turnkey Child Find training materials are. There's also a Dear Colleague letter related specifically to specialized instruction tracking that is on that website, as well as the PowerPoint, a PDF of the PowerPoint slides from the required specialized instruction tracking webinar are also found on that website. And if you have any questions about these requirements related to specialized instruction tracking, please contact me related to policy for Christy Weaver Harris at dc.gov. If you have questions related to your SEDS requirements, please reach out via the OSSI support tool or to your data liaison. If you have questions related to IDEA Part C services or early intervention services, please reach out to our Strong Start Director, Andreas Alvarado, or contact DC Early Intervention Program at their hotline at 202-727-3665. And if you have questions related to your requirements around IDEA Part B, Section 619, which is a very legal way of saying what your special education responsibilities are for children ages 3 through 5, please contact Margaret Legosky.
Awesome, Christy, thank you. All right, as we start wrapping up, I just want to talk about some resources that OSSI is making available for you to achieve all these wonderful things this year. So next up, SEDS trainings. So we do have several upcoming SEDS trainers. If you are a new administrator, I am looking forward to seeing you on September 5th for the SEDS administrator training here at OSSI. Please visit the OSSI systems registration site so that you can register for the training. If any of those trainings are full and you need to attend, please feel free to reach out to me via email at rita.larkins@dc.gov. In addition to the live trainings, at the bottom of your screen, what you will see are some archived resources that are available for you as well. So getting started with related services, there's a recorded webinar. Navigating the initial eligibility process, another recorded webinar, and our basic SEDS user guide is also available. Yep, same information, okay? Finally, all of the recorded content for these webinars can be found on the OSSI website page for the training and resources, and you'll look under 1920, just as you see here, but you'll see this in the 1920 section for the LEA Special Ed Points of Contact monthly training and resources. So you'll see all of the recorded presentations listed there. Finally, we have the LEA Look Forward, where you will see information about start of school updates and other relevant laws and policies, grant opportunities, reminders, and professional development information. And finally, we would like to thank you for attending today's training. For questions related to policy, transportation, special ed monitoring, please refer to the contact information on your screen. Our next broadcast is Wednesday, September 18, 2019. We appreciate your participation in today's broadcast, and this presentation will be available within 24 hours on our website. Thank you and have a fabulous day.